was such a great reminder for me that, perfection doesn't exist. All right, welcome to episode 58 of the Singing Simply show, where, if you're getting started with singing or you've always wanted to start singing, I'm here to share some tips, some stories, some journeys to help you get started. And, holy smokes, I have not done a podcast episode in so long. I've not done one of these episodes in so long. And the reason why is because I've been so busy on growing my coaching business and creating some awesome programs for my clients. So I've been doing that, but I'm so happy to be back. And in fact, there's going to be some new elements to this kind of show. There's going to be some new things, new really cool things. And you might even notice, right? My whole setup is looking different, and I'm going to be talking about that later today. But it's really good to be back. And so even to kind of kickstart off today. What's changed with the show? Like how is this going to work? Basically, today we're going to be talking about, some of the updates, some of the stories that's been happening in my life, right? Some things that's been happening in my life. And also, some lessons that I have experienced vocally, right? As a singer, as a vocal teacher, some of the journeys and lessons that I've taken, right? I'd love to share that with you as well. And also address one or two Q&A at the end. And so I don't know if this is going to be the format, but this is what I've come up with so far. And you're going to know that this show is going to keep evolving as we go. It's going to keep evolving and getting better as we go. So even first of all, we're back, right? We're back. Look at the studio. So even to give you a bit of a tour, I've got this awesome couch in the back. This is where I kind of sit down and when I'm thinking, when I'm brainstorming, I kind of go there. You might see a mirror here. This is where when I'm practicing, making sure my posture isn't all weird or anything. I've got my guitar here, and I've got my hopefully you can hear that. I've got my piano here. I don't have reverb on, but if I turn on reverb, it'd be pretty cool. So if I go. Pretty sweet. What a pretty sweet setup. So reverb is off, but the beauty of having this setup is now I can make some pretty cool content for you all, right? For you all on YouTube, my family on Instagram, my family on Facebook. Create some awesome content. And obviously can't forget those of you listening on podcasts. So it's good to have you here. And for anyone who's new, welcome to the team. Welcome to the team. In terms of the show, so where are we looking to take this show? Like episode 58, you can think of it as a new page in the book of the show. And what I mean by this is, you might notice some changes in the content moving forward. And what I mean by this is, I came across this video from Gary Vee. So I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. I love his content. I love his energy. I love his attitude towards life. And basically, he was showing this idea of document, not create. Which means if you're a singer, if you're a content creator, if you're a business owner, if you're a coach, wherever you might be, right, and you need to create content, rather than constantly, filming, doing all these things, creating all these separate pieces of content, create this awesome big piece of content and you repurpose them for what you need. Right. And this is where this whole show comes on. And if anything, I want to kind of document my progress, right? Because one of the things I want to do is I want to get closer to all of you listening to this on your devices. Maybe you're listening or you're watching in. I want to get real close. Share some of the things that are personal to me, some of the things that I go through, share some of the lessons that I've taken, right? And of course, the things that my clients are going through as well. And see if that can help and serve you, right? My goal here is to give as much value as possible. And so you'll notice that this format of this show is going to be a bit more chill, a bit more kind of personalized. There might be different formats coming up later in the future, like interviews and all that. But at the moment, it's all about, connecting and building an awesome relationship with you, the listener, right? If you're listening here, right, building an awesome relationship. And so, hey, in terms of updates in my life, right? My clients, my business, what's happening. So things have been going really well. I built this program called Basecamp and Summit. And basically this is my way of, excuse me for the cough. Another big update. I caught COVID the week before, and I'm still recovering. And I'll be sharing some of the things to work through as we go in the second part. But yeah, back to Basecamp, back to Summit. So I created this awesome series of programs, Basecamp and then Summit. I've also got my 5-day challenge, right? And you might hear about this more and more in the future. But basically, I've got these different programs to help people get started on their journey. So even if you have no experience with singing, you don't even know how to sing, but you've always had that inkling, that feeling like, oh, maybe there's something here. Maybe you've always loved singing, but you wanted to kind of get back into it. I've got some cool stuff coming up. So that's big one. Number 2, part of it is we also do an open mic for my clients. So this Sunday, I'm so excited, so stoked to have my clients come and do an open mic with me. But what this means, right? What this really means for my clients, it's a great place for them to showcase what they've done. A great place for them to be like, hey, I've put in the work, I've done the work. Now it's time for me to show off. That's such a great place to be. Yeah, so that's really been a bit about me. And hey, let's jump into the next part, right? Let's quickly talk about some of the lessons, some of the updates that's been happening with me on my vocal journey. Some of the lessons, right? Because previously, when you looked at, if you go back to some of my older episodes, right, I never really shared my journey or my experiences as I went. It was often me going back, taking lessons from like 1 or 2 years back and, sharing them. But one of the cool things that I've realized is every time I take a lesson and I share that immediately, I learn it twice, but then also you guys get me at my best, right? You guys see me at my best, right? Everything that I know, I share. I don't hold backsies. I don't hold anything back. And so what are some of the things that's been current in my vocal journey, maybe my mindset, my voice, right? Technically as well, right? What are some things that I've been learning and going through? So, so quick story. Last week, I caught COVID. So I caught COVID and, the symptoms weren't as bad as what most people said. But, what's been happening since then is I've been having this crazy, annoying, lingering cough. And my voice just feels a bit more swollen and hard to use than ever. Right? Much more than what I had with some of my previous kind of sickness bouts and all that, but really hard to use. And one of the lessons I've had here, and I actually picked this up from one of my teachers, Daniel Formica, he's a fantastic teacher, was this idea of having a vocal rest. Having a vocal rest, right? Or maybe not a vocal rest. Let's give it something cooler. A vocal fast. So some of you guys, it's basically like, some of you who might be into, health or into biohacking. I'm a big fan of biohacking. When you do a proper fast, right, which means, you don't eat any food for an extended period of time, right? Maybe 24 hours, maybe 36 hours, your body actually goes into this place of recovery, right? Because it's not wasting all this energy on digestion or any of that. It's not wasting energy on digestion. And you can basically apply this to your voice, right? If you're speaking, if your voice feels a bit hoarse, maybe after a concert, right? You're like, oh my gosh, my voice just feels really, really bad. Apply this idea of a vocal fast. Now there is a bit of discipline that's required, right? And for me, holy smokes, I did this yesterday and it was really challenging. Right? I went out to the cafe and I was going to get some coffee, right? And I had to write my order on my phone because I was like, no, zero speaking at all. And I'm still testing this out on myself, but it's just such a cool concept to explore, right? This idea of vocal fast. And where would you apply this? When would you use this? Basically, every time your voice is feeling like a bit tired, it's, maybe a bit more hard to use. Or if you're a singer, a big one is when you can't access your falsetto. That's going to be a big one. When you notice you're getting nothing but air, that's going to be a great place to add a 24 or 36 hour vocal fast, which means no sound making, no, nothing like that, no sound making. And it's going to be challenging, but I promise you it's going to be worth it because your vocal folds is going to have the chance to rest. Your vocal folds are strong, but they sometimes just need a bit of that rest. Now, what was this? What was one of the lessons that really came out of getting COVID, right? Getting COVID, and here's the thing, right? If some of you might know me or maybe you don't know me personally, I am pretty I'm pretty hardcore with myself. When you tell me to do something, I go do it. I implement like a boss, and I go straight and do it, right? The other side of that is I'm also quite impatient, which means, I just want to do it. I just want to do it. I just want to make the progress. I want to get there, right? Make it happen. And going through COVID, going through this journey where I lost my voice completely. And in fact, it's still not back. It's still not completely back. One of the biggest lessons is that it's taught me to be patient, to be okay where you are, and to be willing to take the lessons, right? And the reason why I know this, right, is when I first caught COVID, I think I was like day 4 or 5 in, I was still sang, I was still trying to practice, I was still trying to make it work. And I noticed my voice was just getting worse. It was just getting worse. I was like, I wake up in the morning and I cough up some phlegm and it just wouldn't work, right? And that's when I was like, hey, this strategy is broken. The strategy is broken. And so what does this mean for you, right? What does this mean for you listening? And yes, we're talking about singing here, but we're not really talking about singing. Is sometimes it's just so important to take a step back, pause, right? Not give up, pause. Pause, right? Reassess where you're at and see what you really need and what is that next step for you. What really is that next step? And so this is really, really, really important. And this has been a big, big one for me because I learned to, especially, I'm so focused on getting things happen, making things happen, learning to take a step back. That's been a big, big game changer. Now, this doesn't mean, not doing the work. This doesn't mean being lazy. It just means knowing when to give your body a rest. Knowing when to give your body a rest. Maybe knowing when to give your business a rest. Knowing when to give things a rest so you don't go so hardcore, right? So that's one. So going through COVID, learning this idea of the vocal fast, being patient. One other thing I've actually also learned as well, and this is something to think about. So some of you who might be really good with singing, or like maybe you've had some experience, right? Is there's this idea of when you sing, the resonance needs to shift, right? As you start off in your low range, you might feel the resonance in your chest or in your throat, maybe somewhere there. And as you go up high, it kind of pops up and over, right? And I think that's really cool. That served me so much. But one of the lessons I have took, and this was actually from a teacher called Rex Wee, right? This is a phenomenal teacher from Taiwan, is he talked about there's actually two different types of resonances. Basically, you've got this resonance, which is the resonance that kind of shifts up and down. That's kind of dependent and based off pitch. As you sing up high, the resonance is going to move up higher. But he also talked about this idea of there being a very consistent vocal buzz, a bit of vocal buzz in the sound. And where that tends to stay is right around that kind of hard palate, soft palate. So at the roof of your mouth, there's this really strong kind of buzz that you can feel. And that stays there. It doesn't move, it doesn't change anywhere, but it stays there regardless of your pitch. And so you can even try finding that, even maybe even a hum. So you'll notice that, I'm not going to vocalize too high because my voice is just busted still. But you'll notice that there's this really strong kind of buzz or bite somewhere around, the hard palate, the soft palate, somewhere in between there. And, yes, the sound, the resonance is also there's a secondary resonance that's shifting up and down, but there's this focus there, right? And I'm still exploring this myself. So as I go through these next couple of weeks, I'll keep sharing these updates, but you'll notice there's this focus here. And that is a sign that your voice is efficient. It means your vocal folds, which is like these two little pieces of ligaments in your throat that vibrate against air, they're not releasing excess air. They're resisting the air. There's no extrinsic kind of neck muscles coming in. You've got your support happening. So it's a great way to know if your voice is efficient, which means when you go to sing, if you just aim to find that vocal buzz, that's a great sign that you're in the right place. And this was like such a game changer for me because I've never really thought about singing having this kind of buzz or this kind of little bit, right? This little focus here, right? Because I was so focused on letting the resonance shift. And this is, it's just big awareness piece for me. A secondary lesson of this, right, is, from learning these new concepts with my teacher, right, I've been singing for some time. I've been working out my voice for some time. And, like it's just crazy how there's still so many things to learn. And so when this teacher shared with me this new concept, this idea of the vocal buzz, that placement, right, which stays, this was such a great reminder for me that, perfection doesn't exist. Drop that perfectionism. Drop that perfectionism, which means, I used to have this, this idea, or maybe this limiting belief that, to be a voice teacher, you need to have understood everything. Your voice needs to be perfect. You need to be able to execute like a boss. But then I realized that it's not true. Even when I work with some of my teachers, they're constantly learning. They're constantly having these vocal revelations. They have their limitations as well, right? And so what this means for us is, stop aiming for perfection. Stop aiming to be perfect. Stop aiming to be like, hey, I need to have everything figured out, because no one does. I'm sure there's some singers who are really good, right? They don't have to think about it so much, but even they have their own limitations, right? And what this means for you, if you're starting off, if you're just getting started with singing, right? If you're just getting started with singing, don't get stuck in this perfectionism. Don't get stuck in like, I have to know it. I have to figure everything out. I need to know it. Trust the process and just go with the flow. Go with the flow a bit more, right? Explore, get curious on how you can get better. What are some things you can do better, right? Let go of that perfectionism, especially if you're starting. So, cool. So, hey, I want to kind of wrap up this session. We're nearing the end of the session, and I want to kind of focus on answering some Q&A. And this was actually an awesome question that came my way from a friend of mine. So I'm actually part of this coaching program, and there's all these phenomenal coaches out there, life coaches, people who are business coaches, people who coach music as well, other people like that. And so there's this really cool community of people. And so last, I think it was on Tuesday night, I hung out with this guy. I got a call, and he made his first sale in terms of coaching, and he was like celebrating like a boss. And then we connected over, my journey as a singing coach, and he asked me this one question, and he was sharing this story. He was singing in the shower, and then his friend came along, heard him, and he said this one thing: "Hey friend, why didn't you actually?" Oh, what was the story again? Let me try that again. So he was singing, and basically something along the lines of, his friend said, "Hey, cool, yeah, I remember the story." So it's, give me a bit of a break, because I've got COVID. Yeah, not an excuse or anything. So he was singing the song, and then his friend came in, and the friend was like, "Hey, what was that song? What's that song? Who sings that? Who's the lead singer of that?" And my friend was like, "Hey, it's this lead singer." And this friend was savage. This friend was brutal. This friend was like, giving it to him. And he said, "Well, why don't we keep it that way?" Boom. And so for my friend here, right, this gave him this belief. It seeded this belief that, maybe he was not that good at singing. And maybe he didn't have the gift or talent. And so he asked me this question: "Hey, Ivan, can anyone learn to sing? Right? Is it really this kind of gift, or is it really this kind of talent?" And I shared with him this analogy, right? Some of you might have like a little person in your life. Some of you might have like, a baby, a toddler, or maybe you know someone who has, or maybe you can even imagine. And, if that toddler was not walking, and if that toddler was crawling, right, it was crawling, just on all fours, and it was like, I'm gonna try walk. I'm gonna try walking, and it goes on 2 feet, and then it stumbles and it falls again. Does the baby then go on and believe, "Oh my gosh, I don't have talent, I don't have gift, maybe I just don't have the gift to walk"? And some of you might be laughing because it's silly, right? But we're applying the same analogy or the same idea to our singing, right? Maybe to some other parts of our life as well, right? Oh my gosh, I couldn't do it the first time. I did it once or did it twice and I couldn't do it. Must mean I don't have the gift or talent. Notice how silly that sounds? Notice how silly that sounds, right? And it's really not the case. Really, really, really not the case. So, hey, I wanted to leave. I need to hop off soon, but I wanted to leave you all with this story because it was such a beautiful story in figuring out, is singing really a talent or gift? And I hope this analogy gives you some new perspective on what it is. And guys, if you enjoyed this episode, I'm always looking to take more Q&A, looking to connect with more of you, right? And so if you want to connect with me, hit me up on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. Instagram at Sing with Ivan. So that's my handle. You should probably see in the show notes as well. Sing with Ivan. I'd love to connect with you. Follow me, send me a DM. I would just say hi. I'd love to say hi to you and, get to know you a bit more. So team, thank you for joining me. Episode 58, we're back on action. And you're going to see more of these kind of episodes moving forward. And, it's just going to be such a great way to build this awesome community of singers and people who want to get better at singing. So, guys, take care and I'll see you all real soon.